introduce myself. You probably already know Teresa if you haven't. Teresa is our community engagement specialist. That's just one of her many, many jobs. And I'm new this year as executive director. So we are just here, number one, to introduce ourselves, talk with you a little bit, get your feel on how things are going as a first year parent, I'm assuming, as a kindergartner with you,
Yes.
and if there are anything that you'd like to discuss or talk about, or any suggestions, or even things that we're doing well that you'd like to see us continue. We really just wanted to have a forum for you and some of our parents.
So far, it's been great. We love it, especially his on flex program. So it's like it's not like hard for us to transition like school right away, like our first year. So the flex program really helped us a lot. Oh,
That's great. What is it about the flex other than it's flexible? Is there
yes.
anything specific about that?
Time.
Time.
We're not really morning people. We just started to, fix our schedule, but it's hard getting up early.
Yeah,
especially especially with him. Like it's hard to put him to bed.
sure.
And other than that, you can do his homework any time of the day. As long as you finish it with it, that day, everything's great.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Jim.
Yes.
Looks like we have a few other folks joining us today. If you're comfortable being on camera, great. If not, no problem. Also, um, my name is Jamey Callane, and I'm the executive director here at INGDA and INGAS. And most of you probably already know Teresa. I'll let Teresa, you can introduce yourself if you want.
Yep.
Talk.
So I'm Teresa Heller. I'm the community engagement specialist. You guys probably get lots of emails from me, or you come to orientation at some point that I've been in. So we're happy that you guys are here. I'm happy to have a few minutes of Jamey's time for you guys. And he's going to just kind of introduce himself, talk a little bit about where he's from, his experience, his vision for INGDA. But we would also love to hear your vision for INGDA, what is working well, things you'd like to see us improve on. So you guys have his ear, take it to the top. So definitely utilize this time and let us know, how we can serve you guys.
Thank you, Teresa. Again, yeah, it's nice to meet you all. I see one familiar face on there, Amy Wilmitis. Welcome. No, kind of in our area. So let me just kind of do some general things here at the beginning, but more than anything, I would like to hear from you. Talk with you a little bit about how things are going, what's working well, what's some things that maybe we can improve on. But this is really just an open forum for you all. You don't want to sit here and listen to me talk. That is for sure. But just to kind of some general things. This is my first year as executive director here at INGDA and INGAS. I started with Stride in March of 2023 and transitioned into this role this summer. Actually, it was July 8th. We had just got back from a couple week trip. Our family did a 2 week Europe trip for my daughter's senior year in high school. So jumped right in and have been learning a lot about it. So Jim, I know you're new with a kindergartner this year. I'm just as new. So everything is just as new for me here. Home base for me is Peru, Indiana, which is in north central Indiana. For those of you who are familiar, we are halfway between Indianapolis and South Bend. If you've ever been up this way, straight up 31, Grissom Air Reserve Base is kind of the big area in our where we are. So my home base is not too far from that. Pretty close to the Wabash River. If you ever closed off, if you ever drive in that direction and think Wabash River, I'm like, oh, that's where that Callane guy lives. That's me in this area. Peru is also known for the amateur circus. I didn't believe anything about the amateur circus. I'm sure, yeah, okay, it's a circus until I actually went, and for the very first time, blown away. All kids. I think maybe you can be 20, maybe 22 is the last year could be in it, but all amateurs, and they practice starting in March year round for this. So it's quite an experience. Big circus parade here. So that's home base for me. And in terms of education, I've been in education. I started teaching in 1995 as a history and English teacher in the middle school, and from there served in administration in a variety of roles: athletic director, assistant principal, principal, assistant superintendent, and then superintendent before joining up with Stride in the online world. So my family here, my wife Christy and I have been married 20 some years. I think we got married in 2003, so 22 years coming up this summer. And I have a daughter, Josie, that is a senior this year in high school. And her big plans are she's deciding between Ball State and IU, but there's really no choice. I think she's going to choose IU. So we're excited about that for her. Our first one going to college. And then my son, Jude, is a freshman in high school. And involved in a lot of different activities here. So those two keep us hopping most of the time. My wife by trade is a dental assistant. So she works a couple times a week here locally as a dental assistant. We have a dog, Apollo. I don't even know what kind. It's black and it's got curls. I've become a dog person, but some sort of golden doodle, poodle, something or other. So that's pretty much who I am. When it comes to INGDA, you all have chosen us for your kids and for yourselves, right? You're a big part of what we do here. So I am very strong, have a strong belief in being transparent, open, and listening to our stakeholders and what we can do to get better. I mean, because at the end of the day, that's what we're here. We're help you partner with you in helping our kids get better academically, socially. So that is our role. We're growing like crazy. For some of you who've been with us, and I'd like to hear from you all here in a few minutes. For those that have been with us a while, this is our 5th year in existence, right, Teresa? 5th year in existence. We've gone from probably 1,200, 1,500 students to we just crossed the 6,500 mark this past February 3rd was our count day. So very exciting. With that enrollment, folks choosing us to come to school and be educated here, that is very exciting for us. Also presents some challenges, right, as we continue to grow and get bigger. But the last thing we want to do is lose that personal touch, that flexibility that you all have come to love here with us. So I think that's enough as an introduction for me. Looks like we've got we've met Jem as her nickname. We also have Braxton on the call, Tracy, and Amy Wilmitis. Let's start with Braxton. If it is Braxton, that might be your kids. Also Zoom. So Braxton, if you're comfortable, just kind of introducing yourself, tell us a little bit about your kids here with INGDA.
Hey, it is Braxton. Yeah, we've got 2 boys. One's in 1st grade, one's in 2nd. This is the only place either of them ever went to school. So yeah, we like it for the most part. It works with our schedule and various things. But yeah, I just mainly hopped on to see what was going on. I don't have anything particular to say. I don't guess. Just kind of any information I can get about anything, I'll take it.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Braxton. I'm going to put real quick what just triggered something for me.
And Braxton, so you said this is the only place they've ever attended, and you have a 2nd grader. So we're happy that you guys have been with us. Did they start with us then in kindergarten as well?
Yes, they did.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
So what are some things that I know you kind of mentioned flexibility, but what are some other things that you really have liked about the online platform? I know you don't have as much to compare it to, but how are you liking, is there something specific that you really like about it?
I mean, a lot of it is, I mean, we initially started all this because of COVID stuff, and we weren't sure about sending them back to the schools, and we're still not 100% sure about that. About everybody I know is sick right now, and
Right.
we've avoided pretty well all of that. None of us have been sick since any of that started. Um, and that's more than I can say for most people. I have 3 nephews, and 2 of them are sick right now, and I'm sure the other one will be soon. But that was the biggest part of it, and I like seeing what they're doing, I guess. And I'm here with them all day, so I
So
don't. I
you're
just like to
really
stop
active
involved.
with them, Braxton. I
Yeah,
mean, obviously, as a learning coach at that young, first grade and second grade.
yeah. I mean, occasionally their mom, if I have to do something, she'll fill in, but it's me 99% of the time, and
And do
I'm
you
always,
feel comfortable with the pacing of lessons and response you get from teachers? All
yeah.
that.
I mean, there's some stuff. I mean, I know you got to find a middle ground for everybody. Like we hit math with them pretty early because we were kind of locked up here anyway. So like they're a little ahead on where they are in school on math, but yeah, I know it's kind of you can't pull everybody further ahead than they're willing to do. So does that make sense? Like I think like they come up, they want to know about math. They ask things like our second grader, he's already doing division and multiplication. We just like got little workbooks we get that he just likes working on. So he's a little ahead of where his class is, but it's not necessarily a problem. It just is what it is.
Okay. Very
Have
good.
you
Well, thank
guys,
you.
yeah, have you guys attended any of like the in-person events or doing clubs or the K-12 zone?
Yeah, they're up there in the K-12. Well, one's in the K-12 zone, one's doing math right now. But yeah, they do the K-12 zone quite a bit, and the outdoor, like whenever they have like the outdoor activities, we tend to do those like at the parks and zoos and those kinds of things. But yeah,
Okay.
they've been to those. The worst thing with those is there doesn't like the one time they had the park thing in Bloomington, there were some other kids their age. Like we went to the zoo there in Evansville the one time, and they had fun. They were at the zoo, but most of the kids there were like middle school and up. So the timing of being at the event where the kids the same age are doesn't always shake out. It's just kind of a gamble there, depending on what everybody's got going on, what day, and everything.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, we always do those ones when we can, and.
All right.
Very good. And so I heard Bloomington and Evansville in there. Braxton, is that kind of Southern Indiana,
Yeah, yeah,
your
we're in
area?
Jasper, so we're kind of
Oh,
between those two, and
very
depending on what things going on, like sometimes there'll be something in Evansville and something in Bloomington, so we'll just kind of pretty
pick
much
and
gauge
choose.
on what thing we think they'll like the best and do that one.
And
Isn't
Braxton,
there a great place to eat in Jasper? Like for
Schnitzel. I can't,
something.
Schnitzelbach, yeah, that's really
I
popular.
can't say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it takes a while to get used to saying it.
Yeah. Um,
Schnitzelbach. Yeah.
And Braxton, anytime, because since you're kind of between two locations that we do a
Mhm.
lot of times, anytimes you want to know, like, hey, are there more elementary students coming to this
Oh, okay,
location or that location? If
yeah,
you let me know, like, if you ask me, like, maybe like the day ahead of time, I have
oh,
an
okay,
idea. I can I have several parents that do that.
oh, okay, yeah, that'd
And
be
I
good.
can say, like, yeah, we have more elementary students going to
Yeah,
the Bloomington one.
yeah,
That's going to be a more fun event or whatever. But you
yeah,
are more than welcome to do that at any time. Like I have people, yeah, who email me quite a
okay,
bit about wanting to know, like,
okay, yeah, that'd be good.
it's a lot of high school parents will be like, if there's no high school students, my 16-year-old doesn't want to go, which I
Yeah,
totally get that.
yeah,
But yeah, I don't have any problem doing that as well, especially since you're kind of between locations,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome. Yeah,
Awesome.
sweet.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Braxton. One thing I wanted to note, I did put in the chat the my email address, and
Okay,
Teresa had you can find hers. If there are things that because we don't have a lot of time today, right? But if there are things that you hear today, or as we're talking, something that triggers something, feel free to reach out and email me.
okay,
And also, Teresa, they can get me at k12.com, can't they? Not INGDA. Okay.
Yeah, they should be able to. They just wouldn't be able to from like their students'
From
email
their
account.
students,
But like if you're doing it from like your parent
personal.
personal account, you should be able to do the K-12. Yeah.
So I mention that because if something comes up or you're thinking about something and have a question, if I don't know the answer, which more than likely probably don't, I will find out who does.
Yeah.
But I want you to have that so you can communicate with me. I try to be really good about cleaning out my inbox every day before I go to bed. It drives me a little crazy if I've got in something in there that's still unread. So, depending on what's happening throughout the day, I try to get back to folks within that day, if not usually the next day for sure on that.
Yeah.
So I did want to mention that. So thank you, Brax.
Oh, I did think of one other thing. Do you know for next year, are they planning on using the Amplify program again?
Yes.
Okay. That, I mean, there are good things about it, but I don't know. We still have a little bit of growing pains with that, I guess. Which we were on the whatever the system or whatever they call it prior to that.
Yeah.
That I don't know. We're still getting used to it, I guess. But
Braxton, I'm glad you mentioned that. I was on a call earlier that was supposed to be 30 minutes that went about 45, and we
yeah,
were talking a lot about that. Um, it started late for us. The school year had already
yeah, I
started.
know they dropped all that stuff on you guys, and you kind of got threw into a blender there, I think.
So
So,
we're gonna work through that.
yeah,
There are some items that we're working through. So for sure, I want you to know that we recognize that, right?
yeah. I mean,
Long
I don't,
term,
yeah,
yeah,
I don't know. Like, what are the chances they pull something like that again? Because changing that when they changed it makes absolutely no sense to me. I'm not sure I get changing it, but when they did it, just seemed like catastrophically bad timing.
yeah,
I mean, we literally had all of our stuff. We had to mail a bunch of stuff back.
right, right.
That
And
it's a waste of you guys' time. And
a lot of that had to do with kind of the legal part at a
yeah,
virtual school and a curriculum that is traditionally brick and mortar. It was one that is approved by the state of Indiana.
yeah,
We had to go with a curriculum that was approved by the state of
yeah,
Indiana because we're part of a literacy cadre. So I couldn't agree with you more. That stuff should have been done months
yeah,
before so teachers can look at it and see it
yeah.
and dig
Or if
into
they
it.
decided it then make it for
Yeah.
next school year.
Yeah.
I,
So,
I don't know how they thought you guys had time to do anything.
right. You mentioned about the flexibility part, and maybe that was Jim earlier talking about. We try to be flexible too
Yeah,
when it comes to
yeah. It's like
those types of things.
we're
But
trying to be understanding. We know it's not you guys' fault. You got it
yeah,
dropped on you, but there
we're
early on, especially,
hoping.
there were some days that
Yeah, loud and clear. That program long term has done great things
yeah,
for students, but it's a matter of you know getting
yeah,
it implemented in a timely
yeah,
fashion. So loud and clear on that, Braxton. I appreciate you saying that.
yeah. No problem.
Okay, Amy Will Midas, talk to us.
Hello, all.
Hello,
Um,
Amy.
hi. Yeah, nice to see your face, Teresa. We talk a lot in email. Um, I am in near Burlington, Rossville, Michigan town. I'm out in the rural areas. Um, so about an hour north of Indianapolis. I did not realize that I had been with INGDA almost since its inception, until the in-person meeting when I met Jamey for the first time in person. But we've been with 4.5 years, and I have a sixth, fifth, and first grader. We started through COVID and then decided to keep with it. My kids, my older two, had a summer where we were pretty involved with the 4-H program here, and they had gotten close to a lot of friends through the summer. And so we actually did go back to in-person brick and mortar public at Carroll Elementary I told them if they wanted to go back, they had to go back for a semester. We made it 9 weeks. So, we compromised as we went through. Um, it was just, they did fine academically. I was a little nervous with them going back. Are they on the same page? You'd kind of never know when you just have them home. But academically, they all A's. Socially, they were fine. It was just a lot to take in the environment. And so we decided to come back to INGDA, to K-12. So just so parents know, if something's not working, if you want to try something, you are in control of their education ultimately. So I always I I took more of that role. I didn't realize, honestly, like even with my kindergartner, when Georgia started kindergartner, she's now in fifth grade. Man, she had a lot of separation anxiety and it was stressful. And had I realized that she didn't really have to do kindergarten, I may have made different choices. Um, and so at any rate, um, we're happy to be with Inga. There's, the only, yes, it is a challenge for a lot of us, I think, to have that social interaction, to find that social interaction. But, there are pluses and minuses on both sides. And for us, this is just it works. It's been great. Um, I think somebody mentioned before about getting up early, that they're on the flex program. And even though we're not on the flex program, we could be, but I kind of like them to be on more of a schedule, because otherwise, gosh, if we didn't have a schedule, we'd probably struggle a little bit more, because just getting them up for 9 o'clock calls seems early to them. And so I have to remind them when they kind of struggle. I'm like, hey, you could be getting up at 6:30, getting ready for school, and so on and so forth. So it's pretty fun. I also quickly mention to any those that are on here to continue to check out the Learning Coach community. I've been more involved this year in the national community and helping kind of lead some talks and stuff. So there are some great conversations on Thursdays. There's Navigating K-12 if you're brand new on Tuesdays. But I honestly, like I said, I've been with the program for 4.5 years. I did not take advantage of the Learning Coach community until this year. And there are some phenomenal learning coaches, phenomenal people. Everyone's in the same boat. So many questions. And it's super helpful to know. A lot of people talk about it being homeschool, but the key difference is that this is an online public school. You have support. Reach out to your teachers. They're accredited teachers. You have counselors. You have people like Teresa who will answer anything or direct you, because I ask her a lot of questions when I don't know where to go to. So just keep that in mind for future as well. Oh, and I also have to say, Braxton, I agree with you on the Amplify. We struggled too. We're only my fifth graders really doing much with it. But I actually did reach out to the elementary principal. So always know that lines of communication are open too, because I needed to understand why the change was made, to better endorse it. Because at first I was frustrated and I was like, you know what? That's just going to feed down to my kid and she's going to be frustrated. So for me, understanding why the change was made, like Jamey mentioned, and address that, really helped me to kind of, okay, well, it's not like they were just doing it to do it, to throw us for a loop.
Yeah.
So just know you can reach out to anybody, honestly, to get good information and feedback. Sorry.
Thank you,
I'll get
Amy.
off.
Yeah, love it.
That's awesome. Couple things. Just think of us as a regular school without transportation, because you're doing the transportation, and without buildings. And so the communication with principals, with your teachers, all those things should apply, right? And we're here to answer those questions. And again, a second, I'm glad, Amy, you mentioned that about Amplify, right? We recognize that. I mean, just in syncing the program, which is not your all's problem, that's our problem to figure out, and even our folks struggle. But end goal, big picture item is that this curriculum, this program, has shown some very significant. Our students across the country who've used this, and especially in Indiana, have showed some growth in terms of their progress in ELA, reading, science of reading, through the years. If you stick with it and we follow it, it's a matter of cleaning up the bugs and making sure it works with the online world rather than in a traditional brick and mortar classroom. bugs being, I mean, continually. We were meeting weekly on those items. So we need to hear that from you all because the last thing we, as adults, we can be frustrated and talk to another adult. The last thing we want is our kids to be frustrated with the program. And when we hear from you on that, it helps for us to say, listen, our parents are frustrated with this, our teachers are frustrated with this. This needs to come along quicker. So thank you, both of you, for noting that. The second thing is, with Amy, I met Amy at an in-person event at Burlington Park for the first time. And, as I was kind of taking notes and driving home from that, I'm like, here's a parent that wants to be involved. How do we connect? And here she is on the learning coach community on the national team working through that. Sorry about that, Amy. I mean, you'd happened to mention that, and I'm like, I came right home, all the names that I had met, called Teresa, I think, or texted her, or we met teams, and I said, just met this person. This is people we want involved in things. So I am happy to hear. And I think it started with, it'd be nice to know other learning coaches in different areas as we're traveling. If we're headed to Chicago and we're going to go to the museum, maybe there's somebody up there in the region. Now I know Jim is in Whiting up in the region, from this call, that how can I connect? Or maybe I can connect with someone. So, how do you do that without releasing, FERPA information and have a space where you all can communicate? So the learning coach, I hope that community continues to build and to join members. And I know Teresa does a great job of communicating with
Yeah,
all.
and one of the things that they're working on for the learning coach community, so we trialed a different platform for a little bit, Amy, last year. I don't know if you remembered it, but it had a map feature. So like it had like you could see dots like all over the state where learning coaches were, not just from INDDA, but like any school, like any other Indiana school, or and then so like what Jamey's talking about, like let's say you are going to the Chicago Museum and you want to see if there's any learning coaches that maybe want to meet up from that area. We don't have a school in Illinois, but if we did, you could like click on that area and connect through the learning coach community with those learning coaches. So the new community we have, it currently does not have a map feature, but they are working on it. That is one of the things that we as community engagement specialists really pushed for, that we really liked that feature because it made it super simple for people to connect. Like I could type in Evansville and I could see anybody that was in Evansville. And then I could message them through the community. So that's one of the priority things that they're working on, just so that people have that, um, just kind of more like you could take it upon yourself to reach out to somebody versus waiting on me to make an event in that area. Does that make sense? Like, you can kind of take that initiative. And like Jamey was saying about us being a regular school, we have a lot of the same things, and we want that feedback because we can't make things better if we don't know if you're struggling in silence, and you're just being at home and you're getting frustrated, and then like Amy said, it trickles down and your kids are frustrated and then they don't enjoy school. That is not what any of us here at the school want. We want it to be a good positive experience, and we want your students to love school, and we want them to like meet friends and that kind of thing. So, but we don't, but if we don't know something's broken, we can't fix it. And I think, our motto here at the school is whatever it takes. And I mean, everybody from the top down to, people who don't even really deal like one-on-one with students have just believe that in their heart that we will do whatever it takes to make it a good positive experience and for your students to be successful and to enjoy school. So again, don't always reach out, I mean, we might not can fix it immediately, but some things we can, We do have a little bit more flexibility than, say, like a brick and mortar public school that's, like bound to what their, their county is doing and things like that. We do have a little more flexibility about, changing some things that are small, as far, so yeah, always let us know how we can better your experience.
Yeah.
Just to
Yeah.
touch on that map feature, Teresa, I've actually been on a couple of national calls to discuss the ins and outs of that. So yes, I'm pretty excited about that coming
Yeah.
about.
Me too. I hope they can get that up going for summer.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Amy. If you have other items or things that you want to talk about, you know where to find us, or shoot us emails, because again, it's my very first conversation with you that kind of like, all right, this is great. Let's go back and talk about how we make it work. That's what we want to do. We do have flexibility in the online world to do some different things that we should, right? We should be doing some different things in this world. The last thing, Amy, for you is we had a basketball game last night, my son at Carroll High School. And I had to zip down to Indy real quick. So I'm coming up 421, past the Angry Donkey, past the Pizza King in Burlington area to go to the school. And I'm thinking, I wonder if Amy comes to any of these games or not. And I show up at Carroll High School. The noise level in there was insane. They had the place rocking. It's a cracker box little gym for those of you who've never been to Krill. It's not very big. The music was blaring for pregame. The band was blaring. The place was insane. Loved every minute of it. I couldn't hear anything. My mom and dad had come up to watch my son play, and it was even better because I didn't have to listen to them complain because the music was so loud. So I legitimately said, I wonder if Amy comes to these games, because I'm going to mention something to her about the Carroll Gymnasium and how insane it really was last night. Now we took it to him, but that's the way it goes. But anyway, when I think of Carroll now in that area, I think of Amy will Midas about it. So thank you, Amy. We
You're
have a
welcome.
couple other
Yep, you
Tracy.
used to play there.
Yeah. Tracy and September. Tracy, I think you've been on here a little bit longer. Welcome. You're on mute. Appreciate you being on camera.
There we go. Hello there.
Hi. Good afternoon. Why don't you, how are you connected to us? You have kids, what grade levels?
Grandkids. So
Grandkids.
we have a granddaughter. We live in the same town as our daughter and son-in-law. And so our daughter works in tech, but she works from home, but is on calls most of the day. So she couldn't be her learning coach. So our oldest granddaughter, Lily, comes over to our house every day. And so we're about 5 blocks away. So she doesn't have a very long commute to school. So she comes over here, and I started off we've been here for 2.5 years. She's a second grader now. Started in kindergarten, and I was her learning coach for the first week. And I'm still working. And I thought, I can get that done in a couple, 3 hours. Then I'll go back to my work, and quickly found out that didn't work. So my wife took over. So she is now, even though I'm down as a learning coach, she's the one who does all the work for it. So she's sitting with Lily every day and while she does her lessons and things. I'm tech support. So if something goes wrong with the computer, I'll come in and try to fix it for them. But other than that, it's my wife who's doing the day-to-day stuff with her. So they're doing that. We by and large really enjoy it. The teachers have all been great all 3 years. So we've had really good teachers. They are very responsive if we have a question about classroom things. And my wife just said they've never been defensive about things. If we have an issue or have something we want to ask about, they're always very, very open and very good about answering questions and taking comments and things. So they're very patient and really, really been excellent. So we're impressed with the quality of the teachers we've had all 3 years, including this year. Previous years, not this year, previous years, we have reached out to administration via email and tried to make some phone calls for things that were kind of time sensitive. We wanted to get a quick answer, and have had in the past years had very little luck getting people to. I pressed every extension I could think of, sometimes on phone calls, and nobody ever answered. I left voicemails for multiple people. Never got a call back, I don't think, ever from anybody. So that's previous years. Limited number of times that happened, but the times we did felt like we really wanted to actually talk to somebody in person on a phone call, never had any luck reaching them the first time or getting a call back. So we have not tried this school year. So that's past year. So that's not the current leadership. And so we've appreciated you doing this. I appreciated our new K through 5 principal having Zoom meetings and getting kind of know her online and things. So that's something new, and I think that's really been a good feature you guys have done to take time to meet with the parents who are interested in doing it and share some vision for the school and what's going on. So we appreciated that. Last year, actually, the principal was open, and I did talk with her on the phone a couple of times, and she was quickly to respond. And I have the feeling that it'd be the same this year. I think we have somebody who's going to be responsive and very, very engaged. So that's very promising, I think. So that's good. I'll share the other comments about the Amplify. We're a little confused as to why that was implemented mid-year. And I know that made things tough on teachers to try to get up to speed on that and get trained on doing that. That should have been something that was done, at least over the summer, getting that ready and having had that ready to flow out at the beginning of the school year. But that being the case, at least our teacher rolled well with that.
The second grade teachers
did a really good job of getting it done. We've had a number of schedule changes this year as far as when classes were held and things. So it's been kind of a roller coaster year as far as that kind of thing go. But we've appreciated her teacher a lot.
We like
Amplify. My wife just says she enjoys that. She thinks that Lily is growing through that and it's helping her reading even more. So we think it's a good program. Glad it's there now. Just kind of a bumpy rollout on it, I think, to get going. So
bumpy rollout.
You already know that. So
Tracy, I like that. A bumpy rollout. Now that is the kindest thing I've heard about Amplify this year. Aww. If you don't mind, I'm going to use that in my next bump.
It's yours. I
wrote it down too, Tracy. I was taking notes and I wrote down bumpy rollout right there.
Bumpy rollout is just glorious. And I guess I should go back just a little bit. Maybe they've explained this to you. So thanks again, Tracy, for your comments.
Absolutely.
And for sure, at some point in time, you're tired of email and texting. You want to talk to a live human being and get things resolved. Number one, it probably saves you some 10 emails back and forth.
It can certainly do that, yeah.
It can get resolved. So
and get that off of your to-do list. You have a to-do list and you email somebody and don't hear back. Like, okay, I need to follow up on that tomorrow and tomorrow. Yeah. So it's nice to just say, okay, check, that's done. So yeah.
I am adjusting in this online world to that. Absolutely. Because I am a talker, people person. Yep. I want to go handle it. Let's meet in person and talk about. So I'm adjusting a little bit too, but loud and clear. Just let the Amplify situation. Because of where we are with our state test scores, in I-read in English language arts, we were identified obviously as a school, just like any other. We're a public school in Indiana. Schools where we've scored are then assigned kind of some help. We're part of a literacy cadre, is what they call. Yep. And the literacy cadre, we are partnered with a university. And when I first, I learned all this about July 22nd. The literacy cadre we are with is the University of Indianapolis.
Okay.
Marian University of Indianapolis and then University of Indianapolis were the two schools. Okay. We had some connections with Marian, but we got placed with the University of Indianapolis. So part of the state of Indiana, because of our test scores not being great, we're working on those, we've been identified to move into this literacy cadre, part one. Part two, we had to adopt a curriculum that was on the Indiana Department of Education's approved list for science of reading and programs that have been vetted. Okay. So we couldn't use Stride K-12's curriculum, which is, aligned to the Indiana standards. We couldn't use that. It wasn't good enough for the state of Indiana.
Okay.
We had to select one of the companies' curriculums that was on the state approved list. CKLA, it's Amplify is kind of like the McGraw-Hill is the parent company, but CKLA is the program. It was one of the programs. I don't even know what vetting they did between the 4 or 5 different programs that were on there.
Yeah.
But this seemed to be the predominant one that was used in the state of Indiana.
Yep.
So
we like it. I mean, yeah.
So, think with the end in mind. What did Stephen Covey, right? Begin with the end in mind. The end in mind, everything's working quickly. We're improving our scores. Kids are getting it. Right now, we're through the bumpy rollout phase where we are. But that is how that all came about. So by the time that was decided, legal got involved. That the curriculum should have been with us. Our teachers should have been vetting that. Or how does it work with the online piece? That didn't happen. It happened late. I mean, I don't think we finally got approval till like 2 weeks after school started.
Yeah. No, in an ideal world that would have, but you didn't have that opportunity. So I mean, I get that.
Yeah.
So.
But I think it's important. I think Amy's the one that called out, maybe even called the principal, said, "What's going on with this?" Braxton mentioned this, but I wanted you to know a little of the history behind
that's
this.
Not, yeah. So it was,
on how it came about. That we know our scores are not good when it comes to our iRead.
Hopefully, this will make a difference. So that's good,
right?
Yeah.
So part of the deal with the state of Indiana is you're on this literacy cadre, which we've been a part of and appreciate their partnership. It required us to adopt a curriculum that was on the state adopted list. One of those, we chose that. And now we're going to have ongoing communication between our literacy cadre monthly. What are we doing about this? What are we done with our staff in training them? So a lot happening behind the scene with the goal of, if you're a 3rd grader having to take the iRead test, and you can take it in 2nd grade now, we want 100% of our kids passing that test by the time we get there. Whatever we feel about standardized testing in general, right? That is what the law states.
It is. Yes. No, we're kind of cautiously optimistic about our 2nd grader taking it here next month and seeing how she does. She's doing well. We're hopeful she can get it out of the way in the 2nd grade. 3rd grade. That would be wonderful. Yeah.
But it's not the end of the world if she doesn't. We're here, but that is where we need you.
But at least it's going to give us a good feel for where she's at. So
absolutely.
Speaking kind of in that same vein, class size. How does class size at our school compare to other online schools and in the state, and where are we at? They seem large to me, but yeah.
I do not know that question. I think Teresa's taken some notes. I don't know, like the other, even amongst Stride schools, right? We have kind of our partners, or I don't know how to even describe it. INDLS is a school very similar to us.
Okay.
They have a brick and mortar partner. Like our partner is Clarksville School Corporation in Southern Indiana. Their partner is Union Modoc.
Okay.
I can't see anymore what their class ratios are, but at one time they were very comparable to our ratios in terms of what our elementary ratios are. And it is in the online world, it is more kid per teacher than it would be in the brick and mortar classroom. I can't speak to other schools, Connections Academy, I think, is another online
our teacher. That's no slam on teacher, because we've been very happy with the teachers. I just think it seems to be quite a workload for them. If they have 60 and 70 kids in the class, I think, wow, how they ever getting through even just what they have to do. And I understand there'd be different responsibilities in a bricks and mortar school than there is in an online school, but still there are things they have to do for every student I know behind the scenes. And so it just seems, I don't know if that would make any difference, but it seems like a lot of students per teacher, right? The class ratio seems to be pretty high. So
And they might have more numbers too, because we do have some students that are on like the flex program.
Right.
So their number might be higher, but then what you see in the classroom might be,
Exactly.
a different like number.
And
So yeah.
we're doing flex, and we like the flex program a lot, but we still do the classes.
Some of the classes. Yeah.
Fairly. We're doing the English every day, at least for half of that. And we'll jump in some of the others sometime too, because we feel like it's good for her to have that interaction. She enjoys being able to answer questions the teacher asks, and talking with some of the other kids. And so we do the some of the breakout rooms and things. She enjoys getting the other kids in there. So yeah, it's been a good thing to be part of that. But it's nice to have the flexibility that if we have something planned, or we've had a couple of vacations over the years during school year, and we've been able to kind of catch up on Saturday and Sunday before and Saturday and Sunday after, and make that works, and log on in the evening when we're on vacation and get the log-ons done. But it's been nice to have the flexibility for sure. The flex plan has worked out great for us, but we still like going to the classes and letting Lily be there with the teacher, and putting the face to the name and letting them interact some too. So it's nice to kind of have the best of both worlds.
Yeah, that's great that you take advantage too of going to the classes, because I agree. I think some of that's important. I know that like you had talked a little bit about communication, with staff and the teachers. And so I wrote down just a question, and all of you can kind of think about it if someone else wants to chime in. But, we know that there is a lot of emails coming at you, right? Like you guys, like your email inbox probably just blew up. You didn't realize that was part of the deal when you signed up for INGDA, that you were going to get lots of emails. Is there a way that we can better streamline that, or streamline communication to the teachers? Like, why do you feel like, like, when you were calling and you were leaving messages and you were like, oh, I'm going to try this number, I'm going to try this number. Did you feel like you were just kind of like grasping at straws, like you weren't really sure who to call? Or do you feel like, you were calling the right people, they just maybe weren't getting back to you, or you didn't have the right numbers? Like, how can we kind of fix some of that? Because that honestly, to me, is an easy fix. Like, we should be able to internally kind of fix some of that communication issue.
I feel like we had the right number. We had your list of all the different contacts to do.
Okay.
So I'm calling it. I was getting the right voicemail. I knew I was talking to the person I needed to be talking to. I leave my voicemail, wouldn't hear back. So then I'd call back, a few hours later, the next day or something, and leave a voicemail for somebody else who thought, okay, they may be able to help me with this too. So I go to like plan B and plan C. So, and like I said, that's been a couple 3 years ago. I know our very first year when we started kindergarten, we had a few questions and some growing pains. And so I actually spoke with you on the phone a few times, and you were good about calling back on things. So, it hasn't happened all the time, but there have been a couple 3 instances where we really felt like having a voice to talk to and go back and forth a little bit would be nice. And it never happened. So we could never make a connection. So, so it was.
And I agree with that 100%. There's times when people will email me and I'm like, if I type this out, it's going to be like this dissertation, right? I'm just calling them because I know the minute I send this, they're going to have other questions, and it's just easier to have that conversation.
A 5 or 10 minute call can take the place of 20 emails sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, 100%. So, but also I'm not in the classroom, so I'm not like, teaching to where I can't call. Like that's what I mean,
right.
Sitting here.
Well, teachers wise, every year, a couple of years, they've given us their cell phone numbers to actually text. So Phyllis has taken advantage of that and texted back and forth and things, and that worked well. This year we're doing the email, but she is great about emailing back very quickly. And so teacher communication all 3 years has been pretty rapid and very good. So that's the main one. If we have that, that takes care of 95% of any problems we'd ever have is dealing with something with the teacher. And if it's something they can't deal with, they'll say, I'm going to ask so and so about this. So they'll intervene on our behalf sometimes if we have a question that they think is not their area of expertise. So most of the time it's great, but there have been a few times in the past couple of years that we have tried to reach out to somebody about something different, and we just have not been able to connect. So
and again, if that is ever happening, if you feel like, there's a person, like, you've sent several emails and it's just kind of like you've not really gotten that connection, you can reach out to me. Not
Okay.
that I'm anybody's supervisor, but sometimes if somebody emails me and I email that person, I'm like, hey, this person's reached out,
Yeah.
could you check in with them? Sometimes they
Might,
will go,
might be the prompt they need to help. Yeah,
I'm not anybody's supervisor, but I don't know, maybe it
somebody
just
else from
works.
staff saying, "Hey, could you help me out?" And sometimes that
Yeah.
works. Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Understood.
And then Amy, you mentioned Parent Square app. Tell me what that is. That sounded interesting.
Honestly, I'm not exactly sure.
Okay.
I've never used it. I heard
Okay.
about it like in the national community. People were talking about it. Different LCs were talking about it on a call. And actually a lot of us were like, wow, that's cool. So not every school has it, and some have a different app that's similar.
Okay.
I know like in our brick and mortar at Carroll, there was a class dojo where teachers could, email, or you could talk to the teachers. They could roll out stuff from the whole class and send pictures. I think Parent App or the Parent Square might be a little bit more specific. Maybe not as general. I don't know if it goes out to all of the parents or if so
Or if
like
you can
all
just do
parents.
like a one-on-one, or if it's like a
Right.
group message.
Right. And
Yeah.
I'm not
Okay.
sure how that works, if that's how it is. But I will say, like with multiple students, the emails are insane because I get one for each child. And then I get all their personal, all the emails from their teachers. I agree with Tracy and anyone else who has said it with the teacher communication. The teacher communication is phenomenal. I've never had an issue. It's just a massive amount to have to weed through. Now, somebody mentioned setting up, a separate email just for school communication, which is a good idea. However, not every LC is going to do that. So, I think an app where all of your school communication is, aligned and that you can find it all in one place. I mean, it's how do I say it would be uh oh shoot, I'm trying to think, a luxury. Perhaps. I mean, yes, I could go through my emails. Everybody communicates, and that's the first big thing. And so to have that communication, that's awesome. I mean, that's A plus. That would be an extra bonus, would be to have it all in one place.
I
So to
know
have to kind
the
of like
middle
read
school,
through.
thank you, gang, for that. Middle school, and I haven't even had a chance to review it, still sitting in my to-do box. A group called Aptogy. It is a school messaging program. Teresa, if you might note that. I've got the information. If you mind, I'll send it to you. They had a presentation on it. I was driving back from an in-person event and I listened to it in the car. It sounds really cool. It's also about 9,500 for just the middle school alone, right? The middle school wants to implement it like 6 weeks ago. And I'm like, well, I also have to work within a budget here on that. But I know the communication is key, and hearing from a person, it at times is just I just need to talk to somebody and talk through it. So let us know about that, right? I mean, if there are issues moving forward, I do know that we're talking about our whole voicemail phone system. They are talking about that, right? Stride as a company is talking with that, which has nothing to do with getting back to you in a timely fashion. I'm just mentioning it to you that they are looking at that particular piece. I go back to then Tracy, something that you had mentioned earlier, class sizes,
Yep.
which also impacts communication. If you've got a lot of kids in your class, how do
Yep.
I deal with that? There's no easy answer. I mean, there's the age-old time that I've been fighting it ever since I became an administrator. I've got too many kids in my class and I need help. Where is the fine line? I don't know that I don't know there is a magic number. But what we need to continue doing is how do we utilize our technology, in a way to manage large numbers of students, in an online world? How do we streamline things so it works and then as their administrator asking on for staffing, all right, we've reached a mass here. We're over the limit on what we can handle if we still want to be personalized. We still want to be able to reach out and do that. So, that's a tug and a pull, that is a tug of war, right?
It is.
Within any organization, what is the sweet spot for me to be able to manage? I think if you would ask any teacher, it'd be like 12 to 1, 12 students to 1 is a pretty good sweet spot, right? Where we think more like, what, in the online world, what is it? It's 60, 65 to 1 on occasion, but not everybody's in line. They're in flex program. So how do you become the facilitator when you need to be? How do we streamline these things? So excellent question.
Yeah.
It's something that we ask. I mean, matter of fact, tomorrow we're talking about staffing. Tomorrow, believe it or not.
No, and if I felt like that was affecting the education, I'd be pushing a little harder. But it doesn't seem to be. The teacher's doing well. It just seems like 70 to 1, even in an online school, seems to be a pretty high. I would think that would be towards the top of the ratio for online schools to have 70 students.
Yeah. I might bring Tracy and Amy with me to our next negotiations with finance.
I see it on the other side. Yeah.
Well, I know September dropped off. Either she got tired and got busy, or had heard enough. But Braxton and Jeremy
didn't want to be called on, Jamey.
September was next on the Socratic.
She thought she was next. Maybe she didn't want to be called on. And that's okay. She can maybe reach out if she has something to say. She can just send me an email and reach out about that. But yeah, we're here at an hour. You guys have been amazing. I know anytime you guys have good feedback, negative feedback, like we said, both Jamey and I, we do appreciate hearing that. Like you said, even I think most everybody on here has been elementary. Sheila Baining, our new elementary principal, she's very receptive as well to that feedback, and she's been making a lot of changes, and kind of restructuring and reorganizing and making things work better. So definitely keep reaching out to us if you have any concerns or ideas. We're always open to ideas too. Does anybody have any final questions for Jamey or myself? Okay, Jamey, any final thoughts?
No, we've talked a lot of elementary today. All your kids, elementary. Amy, I know a 6th grader. I think I wrote down here. In the middle school, Jay Payne. I mean, I am pleasantly surprised with my interaction with our people here. Right? Always things to work on for sure. But having spent a lot of my time in a public school area up kind of where Amy is, and now being on the online world, I am pleasantly surprised with the strong relationships that our teachers have, that their effort to meet parents. Do we have issues? Absolutely. Every organization does. But what I've been, really pleasantly surprised about is this whole concept of whatever it takes attitude, right? And it truly, I've seen that. But we can't, I have my own thoughts on, all right, I see this we need to correct. Here's an action plan we're putting together from you all as you see these things. Maybe it's a one-time deal, maybe it's 2, but if you see a pattern there, we need to jump on that and correct that. We want to be attentive to what you said. And these types of things, these types of, forums right here, I hope is casual enough, and I hope you feel moving forward as you get to know me that I really am. I really want to hear about. I'm open to it, right? What we can do, how do we improve, how do we make it better? We're hopefully going to continue to grow, but we don't want to lose that personal touch with what we have. And the only way I know to do it is by developing relationships with our folks. So students, with parents, with staff. So I appreciate your time today. As I said, if something you heard today or we've discussed triggers something, please feel free to shoot me an email. I threw my cell number in there in case you have anything. But we value what you do and the important role that you play. And at the end of the day, in the state of Indiana, we believe in parent choice, school choice. At least those of us believe that. So for those who don't believe in that and continue to do it my way or the highway, are going to find themselves in a real challenge moving forward. How about that? A real bumpy space moving forward on that. So I thank you for allowing me to spend some time with you today.
All right. Thank you guys.
Thank you.